Hello, welcome to Passion Reading channel. In this video I'm going to test my Lovense toys function called pattern, and today I will test the pattern called Fireworks. To be more interesting, I will read the book Lady Chatterley's Lover while testing the toy. So let's start. If you wanna see more content with me, just click the link for my fansly in the description of this video. She turned and looked at him. We came off together that time, he said. He didn't answer. It's good when it's like that. Most folks live their lives through and they never know it, he said, speaking rather dreamily. She looked into his brooding face. Do they? She said. Are you glad? He looked back into her eyes. Glad, he said. Hey, but never mind. He didn't want her to talk, and he bent over her and kissed her, and she felt so he must kiss her forever. At last she sat up. Don't people often come off together? She asked with naive curiosity. A good many of them never. You can see by the raw look of them. He spoke, unwittingly regretting he had begun. Have you come off like that with other women? He looked at her, amused. I don't know, he said, I don't know. And she knew he would never tell her anything he didn't want to tell her. She watched his face, and the passion for him moved in her bowels. She resisted it as far as she could, for it was the loss of herself to herself. He put on his waistcoat and his coat and pushed away through to the path again. The last level rays of the sun touched the wood. I won't come with you, he said. Better now. She looked at him wistfully before she turned. His dog was waiting so anxiously for him to go, and he seemed to have nothing whatever to say, nothing left. Connie went slowly home, realizing the depth of the other thing in her. Another self was alive in her, burning molten and soft in her womb and bowels, and with this self she adored him. She adored him till her knees were weak as she walked. In her womb and bowels she was flowing and alive now, and vulnerable and helpless in adoration of him as the most naive woman. It feels like a child, she said to herself. It feels like a child in me. And so it did, as if her womb, that had always been shut, had opened and filled with new life, almost a burden, yet lovely. If I had a child, she thought to herself, if I had him inside me as a child, and her limbs turned molten at the thought, and she realized the immense difference between having a child to oneself and having a child to a man whom one's bowels yearned towards. The former seemed in a sense of ordinary, but to have a child to a man whom one adored in one's bowels and one's womb, it made her feel she was very different from her old self, and as she was sinking deep, deep to the center of all womanhood and the sleep of creation. It was not the passion that was new to her. It was the yearning adoration. She knew she had always feared it, for it had left her helpless. She feared it still, lest, if she adored him too much, then she would lose herself, become effaced, and she didn't want to be effaced, enslaved like a savage woman. She must not become a slave. She feared her adoration, yet she would not at once fight against it. She knew she could fight it. She had a devil of self-will in her breast that could have fought the full, soft, heavy adoration of her womb and crushed it. She could even now do it, or she thought so, and she could then take up her passion with her own with her own will. Oh yes, to be passionate, like a bacchanal, like a bacchanal fleeing through the woods to call on Aeacus, the bright fellows that had no independent personality behind it, but was pure God-servant to the woman. The man, the individual, let him not there in truth. He was but a temple servant, the bearer and keeper of the bright fellows her own. So in the flux of new awakening, the old hot passion flamed in her for a time, and the man dwindled to a contemptible object, the mere phallus bearer to be torn to pieces when his service was performed. She felt the force of the bar key in her limbs and her body, the woman gleaming and rapid, beating down the male, but while she felt this, her heart was heavy. She didn't want it, it was known, and barren, birthless, the adoration was the treasure. It was so fathomless, so soft, so deep, and so unknown. No, no, she would give up her hard-pride female power. She was weary of it. Stiffened with it, she would sink in the new birth of life, in the depths of her womb and her bowels that sang the voiceless song of adoration. It was early yet to begin to fear the man. I walked over by Hay, and I had tea with Mrs. Flint, she said to Clifford. I wanted to see the baby. It's so adorable, with hair like red cobwebs. Such a dear. Mr. Flint had gone to market, so she and I and the baby had tea together. Did you wonder where I was? Well, I wondered, but I guessed you had dropped in somewhere to tea, said Clifford jealously. With a sort of second sight, he sensed something new in her, something to him quite incomprehensible, but he ascribed it to the baby. He thought that all that ailed Connie was that she did not have a baby, automatically bring 1/4, so to speak. I hope that you enjoyed watching this video. I tried to control my emotions as possible. Don't forget to like this video, leave your comments and subscribe to my channel and to my fansly. See you in my next videos.